Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Let me introduce my group. My name is NURUL and my partner LISTIANI and RISTI JULAIHA. Okay, in this presentation, we will discuss about logic. Next slide, RISTI. Definition. Logic is a word that means many things to different people. Many everyday use of the wrong logic and logical could be replaced by expression such as reasonable behavior and reasonable. Example, John acted logically in looking his door, means John had good will thought or reason for doing what he did. Next slide, please. Logic is just one contributing factor in rational behavior. Rational behavior involves goals, assumption, and knowledge. Calculating. Example of rational behavior. Goal, to alleviate my hunger. Next. Okay, this is example about assumption and knowledge. Number 1, hunger is alleviated by eating food. Number 2, cheese is food. Number 3, there is a piece of cheese in front of me. And number 4, I'm able to eat piece of cheese. Next slide. Calculation. If hunger is alleviated by eating food and cheese is food, then hunger is alleviated by eating cheese. And the next, if hunger is alleviated by eating cheese, then my own hunger will be alleviated by eating this piece of cheese in front of me. And eating this piece of cheese will be alleviate my hunger. And my goal is to alleviate my hunger. So therefore, eating this piece of cheese will achieve my goal. And this example about rational action is eating the cheese. Okay. Next slide, Risti. There is a close analogy between logic and arithmetic, which is why we have used the word calculation. Arithmetic fact not only fact involve number but fact arising from system of the rule, such as plus, minus, times, and divide by. A similarity between logic and arithmetic is the unthinkable of alternative. Example, 2 plus 2 equal 5 is unthinkable. It is arithmetic contradiction. And all men are mortal and some men are not mortal. It is unthinkable. It is a logical contradiction. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, the next presenter. The next presenter, Risti Julaiha. Time is yours.
Okay, Nurul, thank you. Next is Unit 30. A nation for simple proposition. I will start with the question. Question is, can a proposition be ambiguous? As we know that when we find the ambiguous sentence or words, it will need some analyzing about the meaning, but when we are talking about proposition, it actually the answer is no. So the proposition is not ambiguous. So the question is why? Just because the proposition has dealt with logical notation has treated treated in great depth logical notation. Logical notation is formula and then the formula here just like other forms like when we say something it is become utterance and then when we write something will become sentences and then notation here is the formula that can represent about preposition and then the proposition is self just like simple sentences that has what predicator extremely selective in the proposition that has dealt with for unambiguous. So proposition because as still logical nation and then it become unambiguously. The next, do you know what? Logical formula provides notation for unambiguously, representing the essential of proposition. We assume that simple proposition like simple sentences have just one predicators which we write in capital letters. The arguments of predicator we represent by single lowercase letters. Putting one of these letters before the predicators are subject and the others anything that in not predicator of or referring expression is simple omitted from logical notation. Because logical notation is formula, so it will just only show the predicator and then it will omitted other things outside the characters. The next The next is how to write a notation for simple proposition. I have some example. Example here is Abraham died. Abraham died become a die. Die is verb one. Die is a predicator. And then the next Fido is a dog. Become Fido become F. Dog become predicator. And the last Ted loves Alice become T love A. Ted Ted become T. Love become love. Love is predicator. Alice become A. Initial A. And then the next slide. Do you have any comment? These formula are very bare stripped to nothing but names predicators. The next, the most serious principle or principle ground is the traditional concert concentration of logic on truth that eliminates elements, that is, verb be, articles, tense markers, and certain preposition. For example, Phil introduced Mary to Jack. The next preposition which appear to make no significant contribution to the logical sense of a sentences are omitted from logical formula representing the proposition concerned. And the next expression like look for, look at, look after as single predicates when they contain preposition that contribute in an important way to the sense of the sentences. For example, and the next slide is example logical aspect of meaning. The first example, Winston is a nephew of Randolph, become W nephew R. So we can write Winston become W, nephew become predicator, and Randolph become initial R. Second example is Stanley is crazy about Beethoven. So we can write Stanley because become S and crazy become predicators, and then Beethoven become initial B. And the last example, Ellen is envious of James become A inverse G. Ellen become A and envious become predicators and James become G. And the next slide from Listi. The next presenter, Nurul.
Okay, thank you, Risti. Additional comments. PMM education often form logical formula. Equative is non-equative in our logical formula. We will represent the identity predicate with an equals sign, and we will simply omit anything corresponding to any other use of the verb be. Example: Clark Kent is Superman become S. Clark Kent is reporter. She's a reporter. And the next is the
Okay,
next slide.
wait a moment, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Next slide. Risti. Okay. Definition. A very simple proposition is representable by a single predicator drawn from the predicator in the language.
Come on.
Okay. A number of arguments drawn from the names in the language. No formula for a simple proposition can have two or more predicators, and it cannot have anything which is there a predicate nor a name. And next.
Next slide, Risti.
I have done.
Okay. Okay. Example will form formula is not will format formula. G love in become a will format formula for simple proposition GM become not a will format formula because it contains predicate or G and B. Love in become not will format formula it contains some in and which is neither a predicator nor name. Okay, next slide, Risti. Risti, next slide.
I have done, Listi. I miss your.
Listi,
I have
time
done.
is yours.
Yes.
Please, Listi. Listi,
Yes.
Listi.
Okay. I'm sorry. Practice are the following formula we use. Format for simple propositions.
Yeah.
Listen, become yes because this formula is just on predicator. Listen books become more because there are two predicators. He brother his father become more because there are two predicators. Okay, next slide. Risti.
Listi, time is yours. Please.
Next slide.
I have done, Listi.
Please.
Summary. A system logit must have its own semantics, its own principle relating its formula to the situation described. The rule gives up for simple formula consisting of a name and one place predicate is part of such a set of principle, a semantic for logic.
Okay, finish. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Nurul,
Thank you,
Risti.
Nurul.
Thank you.